forget the rallies, the handshakes, the debate stages. The real battle for the Liberal leadership is unfolding online. Social media has become a political battleground where engagement, sentiment, even disinformation campaigns are shaping the race to replace Justin Trudeau. So who is winning the digital fight? Joining me now is AJ Cordero, who is one of the inaugural CTV News Sachedina Fellows. First of all, welcome and congratulations, AJ.
That's very kind, Marcia.
Great to have you with us. So let's talk about what you've been looking at. Who's leading the charge online?
Well, I mean, I think it's the same thing that we're seeing also in the polling. It's Mark Carney. Let's talk a little bit about the project itself. I'm grateful to CTV News and, of course, Omar Sachedina, who's been very personally entering me through this process. It's been really wonderful. We put together a set of tools to scrape the social media posts of all the federal Liberal candidates on X, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And using that tool, we were able to analyze these posts for the kinds of words that these candidates were using, the sentiments, and also how frequently they're posting, and also all the other things that were there. And what we learned is that Mark Carney is definitely the leader in that space. He had the #1 out of all the candidates that had the post. I'm sure we have a board that's already up showing this right now. You can see it directly. He dominated in that space. So whether it was on Facebook, whether it was on X, he was a little bit lagging behind when it came to Instagram, but he was still #1 when it came there.
What about Chrystia Freeland?
Chrystia Freeland is a heavyweight and is definitely and firmly in second place. Obviously, with her wealth of experience when it came to negotiating the Canada-United States-Mexico agreement, she brings that wealth of experience to this. And you can see also with some of the words that she uses as well in her posts, fight, join. She's clearly positioning herself as a warrior to take on threats from outside of Canada, including what we're looking at with the United States and our current relationship with them right now.
And let's talk about Baylis and Gould. I think a lot of people have been surprised by the support and the strength of Karina Gould. What are you seeing in your research?
I mean, well, again, this research is coming from last night, I think it was 6 p.m. last night. We looked at the scrape. Karina Gould is definitely reaching to people of my generation and below. She's looking at all these different kinds of things. The platform she's been concentrating on has been definitely Instagram. And some of the words that she kind of positions herself on are plan, things like that. So we've noticed that because of that, she's clearly putting herself in a position to look at a larger picture here where she sees and puts her political experience to good use as a kind of like an economic protector, so to speak.
Okay, we have to talk about the tariff war, the trade war. How are the candidates positioning themselves to do battle with Donald Trump over the U.S.?
Well, I mean, that's been pretty critical. I mean, the U.S. relations have been center in this particular discussion. And each candidate has had kind of formed a sort of strategy to kind of address this because they've all had to address this. So when it came to Carney, he spoke to obviously his economic experience being the former Bank of Canada governor, as well as the Bank of England governor as well. Then we also had Chrystia Freeland, who brought her hardline negotiating status when it came to her USMCA work. And then, of course, we have Karina Gould, the economic protector, who's spoken a lot about labor interests and how that works in this particular context. And Baylis, as we saw in the debates last week in Montreal, he's positioned himself as the business person who can take on Trump as a fellow business person.
So they each kind of have their own brand.
For sure.
That they're bringing to this race. We know that voting is underway already. Sunday is the big day when the leader will be decided. So the big question for you, the money question is, does a big social media following actually translate into votes, AJ?
Well, Marcia, that's the million-dollar question. I think it's also the billion-dollar question when we consider all these tariffs. I think we all know social media is very good at generating buzz. It's whether or not that actually translates into votes. And Carney's clearly in the lead right now, but we'll have to wait till Sunday to see if that actually makes the critical difference in this particular conversation. But what I would say is that social media today is incredibly important to a political strategy. If you're not in 2025 focusing on your digital strategy, you're kind of irrelevant. You're not really paying attention. So it's really, really important, and I'm sure all the candidates and their management teams are very focused on what's going to happen in the next few days to help drum up support.
AJ, really appreciate this. Great content. Again, welcome. Congratulations.